since the nationwide lockdown was implemented in an effort to curb the spread of COVID-19, many South Africans have been severely affected. The reintroduction of the ban on the sale of alcohol has impacted many people's lives, including the full value chain of the alcohol industry. Now, in an effort to highlight the effects of the ban on the sale of alcohol, including the sale and distribution we're talking about here, the Industry Coalition Group joined efforts to drive a movement regarding the ripple effects and also the devastating impact on the supply chain. This movement is called #SaveMyLivelihood. And for more, we're joined via Zoom by Khanyi Mbau, actor and businesswoman who owns a gin called I Am Khanyi, Patricia Pillay, Beer Association South Africa CEO, and Maryna Calow, Wines of South Africa Communication Manager. Ladies, pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Maryna, if I can maybe start with you, and let's just get an overall picture first. In terms of retailers, we know that liquor contributes a significant amount to sales. What impact did the suspension of the sale of alcohol have on businesses?
In terms of businesses in South Africa, it's not just the retailers, it's the wine farms, it's the hospitality sector, restaurants. They were all impacted. Then we need to look throughout the value chain at those businesses, from the people doing packaging, labelers, and of course the bottlers. These have all been impacted quite severely by this ban and now need to slowly start to pick up the pieces to get their businesses back on the game again.
And Patricia, it's not just the person, as Maryna was saying, that's selling the alcohol that was negatively affected. Almost all parties in the liquor value chain were affected by the suspension on the sale of alcohol, and it's caused a lot of, I guess, logistical as well as operational challenges. Have businesses in the beer industry recovered from the very first ban on the sale as yet?
Unfortunately not. It's going to take still a while to recover. And we have already lost quite a few taverns and as well as craft breweries. So unfortunately, some of these businesses will not recover, but we are going to do our best to help them build up their businesses again and get back on the road.
Khanyi, do you think the sale of alcohol ban was reasonable and justifiable?
No, it wasn't. Look, I understand that the health system apparently wasn't surviving with how South Africans have been carrying themselves during when alcohol was available to them. But I think it wasn't fair. And the way that it was just stopped immediately without giving us an opportunity to try and salvage what we had and the little that we had, because we continue to still pay for the rental of where we keep our bottles. We still need to pay for the consignments that we've sent out so that we can reproduce. So it wasn't fair and it was terribly heavy on everyone else.
Talk to us specifically how your business was affected.
My business was affected. I mean, my gin is only a year old and I haven't been given a chance to even break even. So you can imagine that I am still incurring costs of when I first established the gin. And now that I couldn't sell it, I had to pull out of most of the macros where the gin was being sold. I kept it in other retailers, but in bigger shops, I had to take it out because it wasn't making enough money and I couldn't pay for it. So I had to try now and put it into smaller shops that have a bigger value that they can help me with. But it's been terrible.
Maryna, off-site sale of alcohol or consumption, it's Monday to Thursday, 9 to 5 p.m. Alcohol is being served at licensed restaurants, bars, taverns, maximum 50 patrons. Health and hygiene protocols obviously must be followed. The other day, I was listening to Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and they said they've seen a reduction in car accidents, trauma patients, when the sale of alcohol was not allowed. So to open completely now, there's a risk of a surge in cases that will possibly overwhelm the healthcare system. So it was agreed to start slow, Monday to Thursday, 9 to 5 p.m. You agree with that reasoning, Maryna?
There's an element of of agreement with that sentiment. We have to remember that the local sales of alcohol between Monday and Thursday from 9 till 5 will inevitably impact on the way alcohol is used. However, the reality is that at no point was a burden on the hospitals ever really reported due to the misuse of alcohol. And there are a number of reports where hospital specialists made it very clear that at no point did they have to turn away a patient with COVID-19 due to a alcohol trauma-related incident. So we need to keep that in mind. Number two, we also have to keep in mind that there's a curfew in place and that there are a lot less cars on the road. So all of these things do affect the numbers of trauma cases. However, saying that, we cannot deny the fact that alcohol does have an impact on trauma cases, and these trauma cases take up spaces in hospitals. Where we are right now is a downward trajectory. None of our hospitals are overstressed, and we need to look at the difference between the impact on the livelihoods of the 1.1 million people who are employed by the alcohol industry in South Africa versus the lives at risk due to COVID cases and COVID infections. And at the moment, it simply doesn't make any sense to have kept that ban in place for as long as it was.
Patricia, let's just talk more about the impact. Are you finding, from what you gathered from the various businesses that you associate with, are these businesses sitting with short-dated stock that ultimately ended up not being sold?
Unfortunately, yes, there were many companies who had actually invested in stock. So they had they were already cash strapped and they had to take their money and buy stock. And then we had that announcement on that Sunday, the dreaded 12th of July, and they were then stuck with that. So luckily, though, the expiry at least, has a 3-month lifespan for some products, a longer period, 9 months for the some of the beers. So hopefully we are able to recover from that. But I think for me, the main thing is that we're trying to say right now is to trade responsibly during this time. So we understand what we've come through. It has been a difficult road. Yes, we have fought a long and hard fight, but now is the time that we need to utilize the time that we have to trade responsibly, but we also need to be able to make sure that consumers are also consuming responsibly. Yeah. And I think for us, that's the most important thing at the moment.
Khanyi, there's hope. Positive COVID-19 case numbers, we're told, is falling. Still, there's a lot of uncertainty. Worst case scenario, the ban of on the sale of alcohol is reintroduced for whatever reason. Do you have a plan in place to cushion the blow?
There is no plan in place. I mean, the uncertainty is what's the most frightening thing for me, is if they had to close this, when would it happen? And I think it would be fair for government to then give us an idea that they may close it, and at least tell distributors that they're thinking of closing alcohol before making an announcement, so we could try and make plans to salvage whatever we have. Because what we do is we take out stock because we'd like to recoup our money. But then if they had to do what they did the last time, would be in trouble again. But I think it's also our responsibility to also remind people, I'm also a public figure, to remind people that you drinking responsibly is not just for your health, but also to save other families, to make money and to be able to take their kids to school. So we need to also stress that you're not just drinking responsibly so that you don't kill the next person when you drive, or that you don't find yourself in hospital and getting hurt, but also saving lives and saving families. So we should also consider that when we take a drink or when we have a drink.
Yeah. What would you have done differently, Khanyi, in order to save businesses, save livelihoods in the midst of this pandemic?
Look, there's nothing you can do. I think it's really a conversation that we need to have with each other. We all love to have a drink, but as it is, we see where the world is. We are in a pandemic. Let's drink responsibly, because it is impacting badly on business and also for the whole industry and people that are involved in it. And this is what I tell my friends is, don't drink to get drunk. Drink to just relax and enjoy yourself, because this is a business and you're killing me if you had to get this out of hand.
Yeah, Patricia, I mean, important point by Khanyi there. I mean, there is a need to fight against alcohol abuse and its underlying causes. Is the beer industry getting involved in that space?
Absolutely. It's a key initiative for us to ensure that we promote responsible trading as well as responsible drinking. And what we've done is we've partnered with the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa and established a hotline number, and I can give that to you. It's 0800 014 858, and that's a number that anyone can call if you do see breaches in terms of the regulations with regards to alcohol consumption, illicit trade, etc. You are welcome to call that number. We want people to be accountable for their behavior. We want us to also self-regulate as an industry, and we want to work together with government. I think it's very important to understand that we cannot do this alone as business. We cannot do this alone as government, as well as communities. We have to work together. This is not a COVID issue. This is a South African issue that we have in terms of engaging with the substance and abusing the substance. Because when you look at the stats, it's close to 40% only that actually consume alcohol in this country. 1 out of 5 women consume alcohol. So it's not a large percentage of the country that are consuming. So it's this percentage that is actually binge drinking, that's abusing the substance. So it's all of our responsibility. And I think that's the plea that we have as the beer industry, is to say, let's drink in moderation, let's enjoy, let's drink it socially. It's really, there's such value, there's such rich heritage in the beer culture and the tradition. And let's keep that alive, preserve the jobs. There's over 400,000 jobs in the beer industry alone. As Maryna has said, over 1 million jobs in the alcohol industry that we need to keep in mind, and our livelihoods that are at stake, as well as our lives. So let's consume responsibly, and we must do this together.
Yeah, no doubt alcohol abuse predates COVID. I mean, and there's this conversation, I guess, that needs to be had with regards to South Africa's issues with dealing with the alcohol. And no doubt, you know, at this stage of the pandemic, we all need to follow the hygiene and protocols, the health protocols, because complacency will be the enemy of progress. Maryna, talk to us about how the wine industry is trying to survive in this pandemic. Long-standing relationships with overseas markets, has that helped? Because reportedly in July there was a good rise in export figures. Can you confirm that?
That is correct. We had a very good July in terms of our exports. And of course, the export market was also impacted quite significantly by the ban on exports, which lasted 5 weeks long. And we were rightly concerned about relationships in our key international markets, because the wine industry is an industry that is very, very cutthroat and very competitive, especially in these international markets. And for any of our producers to have lost listings due to the fact that they simply weren't allowed to export their wine is quite heartbreaking. Add to that then further issues that were experienced at the Cape Town Port Terminal over this period of time, due to the fact that they had a number of COVID-related illnesses in their staff numbers. However, now for us is the rebuild, picking up the pieces as an industry that spans some 360 years in this country. We really are steeped in history and part of the culture of our country as well in so many ways. The sad reality, however, is that a number of our producers have had to close their doors, and there's no turning back for them. But for those who still can pick up the pieces and start afresh in order to continue this rich history of our industry. We want to try and support them as much as possible. We are looking at a disaster recovery plan, but for now, we're very excited to just be able to host tastings back on the farms, and hopefully we can get wine tourism back on the go as well.
Khanyi, I mean, by all accounts, the industry needs to be resilient. It needs to be innovative. From your expertise on the ground, from you working with various role players, the various stakeholders, do you think this industry is resilient?
Look, I think the industry is resilient. Look, regardless of all the issues that we have faced, we're still standing, and I think the gin movement on its own has so much culture and is a lifestyle on its own. It's just to try, like all the other ladies have said, it's just to try and pick up the pieces and start slowly with having our gin days and our gin evenings paired with food from restaurants. So I think we are resilient, and we will make it. We'll be fine.
Ladies, we thank you very much indeed for coming on. It's an important topic to discuss, where we were with regard to the suspension of the sale of alcohol, where we are now and where we're going to. I guess the more heads involved in finding solutions, the better. But we truly appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. Good health to all of you in these uncertain times. God bless. Be well.